Hello, we are all uprooted, just trying to find our way. We are back. No way is wrong. Every plant grows differently. Today's episode is for the moms who doesn't quite feel like herself anymore. Maybe you're tired all the time. That's me. Maybe your mood feels off. Maybe your body feels unfamiliar, or maybe you just know something is off, but you can't explain it. And I want you to hear this first. You are not broken. You are not failing. Your body is just asking for support. So, today we're talking about how to feel good again, inside and out through motherhood. Not perfectly, not all at once, but in small, realistic ways that actually fit into your life. I am joined by someone who truly understands how to support women at the root level, pregnant or not, mom or not. This is a very amazing podcast for all women out there that are feeling so out of whack. And so, Jordan, introduce yourself. Tell us all about you. I am so excited you're here and connecting with you today.
Yay! Yes. Hi, I'm Jordan. My business is Montgomery Holistic Wellness, and I am a board certified holistic nurse and a certified hormone health practitioner. So, really focusing on women's health, like you said, pregnant, not pregnant, postpartum, has kids, doesn't have kids, and anything holistic based. So, really holistic solution, functional labs, all those kinds of things are what I focus on.
Yes, and tell me your background a little bit too. Like, what got you started in this? And I loved listening to kind of where you came from in the field as well.
Yeah. So I started as a nurse. I've been a nurse for, I think, 9 years, going on 10 years. You lose count. um,
Hmm.
but started in the ER, and I just kind of felt like I wanted to do more for really helping people. I did love the ER and emergency medicine, but I was like, let's see what I can do next. I went to a couple different fields, case management, utilization review. But really found that I just loved the holistic solutions. And part of like my journey was my thyroid. So I also like in tandem was kind of healing myself naturally. And then was like, I want to do this fully. So went big and
Yeah.
got certified holistically, and then my other certification. And that's kind of the journey, how I started.
It's something that we always, I think you and I had mentioned, it's like we always find our way when we're going through something and we're struggling with something. And then when we finally
Yes.
hit that, nail on the head, we're like, okay, you know what? I want to help other people because I was able to help myself. And what can I do?
Exactly.
And for
Mhm.
me, like, with the motherhood, journey and women in general, we feel so tired all the time. We're feeling depleted. We take everything out of our bodies, completely opposite than men, obviously. But
Yes.
I feel like so many moms and so many moms don't even realize how disconnected that they've become from their bodies
Yes.
because we as women, we just keep going. We keep powering through. And
Mhm.
especially in today's society where women are doing it all. And it's
Yes.
it's this whole pressure of doing it all. And so we're constantly just going. So I want to kick it off with this kind of the mama theme. But again, this is for all women involved. Jordan really supports all women. You don't have to be a mama. And so please go follow her along. But why do so many moms feel off, but we can't explain it? Because I know that even in my season now, I constantly feel off
Mhm.
and up and down. It's
Right.
like a roller coaster. I'm like, one day I'm like, gosh, I have this great energy. I feel like $1 million. And then the next
Mhm.
day I'm like, I could probably lay in
Like,
bed all day and hide under the covers. So let's
yes.
talk about that.
Right, yeah, let's. Yeah, and I feel like kinda what you said, it's been, like, normalized, like, women and mothers are just, like, meant to just keep going, and so it's really, like, moms feel off because, like, it's been normalized to not stop and not, like, take care of yourselves and kinda get back to the basics, and then I also think, like, the medicine side of things, it's like, "Oh, that's just normal," when it's not normal. Women are told, like, "Your labs are normal," when it's not normal, and so, like, just normalizing that, like, "Oh, just keep pushing through, you're fine, this is motherhood," and it's like, no, like, there's so many more things we could be doing for women, and it's just not happening. And then again, just, like, pushing and pushing and pushing yourselves, giving everything into everyone else is, kinda how it gets there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we push ourselves to the limit, and I actually, I talk about, the invisible load of motherhood a lot and women, we're constantly putting things on ourselves and we have to give ourselves a little grace too. I talk about a lot of bit of grace too, but at the end of the day, this is like science. This is my science part of
Mhm.
this podcast where I really want to dig deep. But like, what are some signs of, I mean, women or hormones are always crazy, right? So, what are some signs that your hormones or nervous system we need support? What are some signs? You know, is it just that I'm
Yes.
tired or I'm up 24/7 with my children at night? Is it my hormones? Is it not? You know, having this constant battle of is it my health or is
Right.
it not?
Right, yeah, and it's hard to make that differentiation a lot of the times. I would say if it's anything that's super beyond your baseline. So it's like, yeah, sometimes I'm like just normally tired. I'm up with the kiddos. But if it's something that's really different or you've noticed a difference in pattern, like over the last few weeks, I feel really off. That's like a sign that, maybe something more is going on behind the scenes. And then also symptoms that don't fix with kind of usual remedies, like, oh, I slept great and I still feel awful, or I've been eating really good, I've been moving my body good, I still feel like crap, sort of thing. That's when it's like, hey, a red flag, something more is going on than just kind of the normal mom tiredness.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as like, you know, the signs of your hormones, your nervous system needing support, like, where do you start when it comes to that? So, we have those signs, you know, what's something, where are we starting? What am I doing? You had mentioned, you know, with blood work, like sometimes it can come back normal, sometimes it's not normal.
Mhm.
So, what are some things that we as women can be doing to identify, okay, last week I felt amazing and this week I felt terrible? What are some things that we could be looking for in the realistic world?
Right. Yeah. I would say like really checking on your energy. And I like to tell people to like set a log and kind of like log their symptoms. So, like, how are you feeling each day? Take your like cravings. If you have a cycle, how is your cycle today? And like through the whole month, energy. Does it dip low and high? Are you waking up in the middle of the night? That can show that your cortisol spiking inappropriately. Sleep is a huge thing that I really look at for people. So yeah, sleep, energy, cravings. What is your cycle like? Is it normal? Is it abnormal? Um, and I go kind of back to like the three main pillars, like how is your nutrition, how is your movement and lifestyle, and how is your stress? Like I kind of want to see patterns in each of those and like how you're feeling.
Yeah, I mean, my stress levels are always high. You know, as a mom, I feel
Right.
like that is in our mom community. We're always like going, going, going. We're not
A
really
ton.
checking in ourselves. We're not even logging. I mean, self-care alone for moms is like zero.
Yes.
And so we're
Yes.
always having to deep dive, but I think it's a great reminder to writing things down because I am terrible at that. You know,
It's hard.
what about, like, when you talk about tracking your cycle, that is something that a lot of women, we do not do. We forget. I'm always like, "Oh my gosh, when was my period last month?" Things like that. What are some good
Mhm.
tools that you like to support with, like, tracking your cycle in general? Like, that's a good start. I know that, like, our
Yeah.
iPhones have it now and things like that, but what are
Right.
some things as far as tracking your cycle, you know, a good tracking system there?
Yeah, I do find the apps on the iPhone really helpful. There's like a few different ones. I do find those helpful because you can just start to see a pattern. Like, and make it simple. Like, if you've never tracked before, just track like the first day you start your period for the first couple months. And then the data will kind of bring, okay, this is when you should be ovulating. And so then we can check if you're ovulating. You can check with like a little, like a test, or you can check like with your body. You'll start to feel a little different. Your cervical mucus will change. So, like, you can kind of see signs that you start tracking your cycle. I really do love a calendar or an app and just start slow, just be like, okay, I'm just for the next 3 months, I'm just going to notice the day my period starts and write that down. And then you'll start to see like really noticing the rhythms in your body. That's like what I want to get to with kind of like cycle syncing is like noticing rhythms in your body and then just making note of that.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah, because especially like
Mhm.
moms, like it's very difficult to track our cycles, especially postpartum. You know, during
Yes.
pregnancy, we don't have a period, and then you have a baby, and
Right.
your hormones are all like out of whack. And that's just
Mhm.
something, you know, why I also want to talk to you about a lot of this too, is because we don't really get that support in the medical field. I feel like we really don't really dive
Right.
into our hormones when it comes to them up and down, them all over the
Yes.
place. I call it this roller coaster ride, but real life examples, you know, as moms, like even during my pregnancies, I mean, I had a 2-year-old pregnant, you know, running around, running always on
Yes.
caffeine, really no meals, like there's times I even don't eat a lot. You know, moms also are dealing with a lot of snapping. We snap sometimes at our children. We don't mean to because we're just
Yes.
overstimulated. We're
Yes.
exhausted. We're exhaustion, especially like we're wired at night. Like,
Yes.
I can't even shut my brain
Mhm.
off sometimes at night. And
Right.
so this is where we have that brain fog, that low motivation, but it's a lot of
Absolutely.
times like the moms, I feel like we all just say, I've talked to so many moms lately and women, they're just like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired. Like, but then, going into our nervous system reset, is it our hormones? Is it our nervous system? Is it something that beyond going deeper than just mom life? So I
Mhm.
think this word gets thrown around a lot,
Absolutely.
but what does it look like? What does it actually look like for a busy mom? So everybody has a different lifestyle too.
Right.
You may be doing all the same things I do and you're exhausted, and that's mom life. And I'm doing the same things, but I actually have something out of balance or out of whack nervous system wise. But what is
Mhm.
nervous system regulation? Let's even just talk from the very beginning. What is nervous system
Mhm.
regulation in your simple terms? Let's just talk general nervous
Yes.
system.
Love that. Yes. Yeah, nervous system regulation and, like, having just a regulated nervous system is how, like, safe your body feels on the inside and how you can, like, not explode at things kind of. And I think of it as, like, fight or flight. If you have an unregulated nervous system, you're in fight or flight constantly, like, you're always running from the lion. And especially, like, nowadays, that's just so common, in everyone, especially moms. And so we really wanna get it down to, like, not everything's an emergency sort of thing. Like, we can take a breath, not everything's an emergency. Reset that, re-regulate it so, like, you can just handle things. They can come and go, and it's not always out of 10. So really, like, how safe you feel and your nervous system feels in you.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, and two, like one thing about the nervous system, there's a lot of talk about the cortisol and the nervous system aspect. How can we really
Mhm.
differentiate between the nervous system and a high cortisol? Because I feel like that's been so many push out there for all these medications and all these supplements people take.
Yes.
But give me just like, I would love to personally know like that nervous system versus cortisol level. Like, what are we looking at here?
Right, right, and I would say a lot of the times they can be connected because when you can test for cortisol and kinda see where it is, and a lot of the times, like, symptoms of an unregulated nervous system will correlate with that high cortisol, but a lot of the times it can be even if you have a low cortisol, you can have a dysregulated nervous system because your body's kind of burning through that cortisol. That's kind of like the term adrenal fatigue. That's where that comes in is where you're just burning through. So really I look at symptoms before I'm looking at the labs. I wanna know, like, what you're feeling, and then I can correlate it to the labs, but, like, dysregulated nervous system would look like you're just constantly exhausted. The exhaustion really clicks in my mind like, "Okay, something's going on." If you can't sleep or have poor sleep, waking up in the middle of the night, if you can't get to bed, and then just, like, snapping, like you said, like, snapping all the time. You just feel like everything feels like it's out of 10 is like everything dings on my list that, like, it sounds like we need to re-regulate.
Yeah. And so, what does really take us through just like a daily life on what does dysregulation feel like day to day, just in general for women? Like, what does this look like?
Mhm.
What does this feel like give us an example of some women that you have worked with, even. I mean, some hard examples so we can
Mhm.
really kind of put our examples comparison apples to apples.
Right, right, and it can look so different for so many people, but I've seen extremes. I've seen where it's just like, I feel so much anxiety, I'm sleeping terrible, kind of like the extreme 10s, kind of what you think of as like, oh, high stress. But I've also seen where it's just like, I'm kind of depressed. I don't really feel good. I don't want to go out. That can also as well be a dysregulated nervous system. So feeling really low as well. So it's not always like, oh, I'm so anxious and I'm just yelling at everyone, kind of like what we see on TV. It can also just be like, I don't feel good. I don't want to get out of bed. I'm depressed. That can also be it too. So it can be so many things for so many people. And I think that's what's hard to kind of notice if you have a dysregulated nervous system, and especially because it takes a long time and then you just kind of feel like it's normal. But it can look like highs and lows. And even the little things can really add up to cause a dysregulated nervous system.
Yeah, and I think that's for a lot of moms. We go, like I mentioned earlier, like the roller coaster ride. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
times we're on this high where we're overstimulated, where we go, go, go. So it's like we're overstimulated, but then there's days where we come back down that high and we're on this low where the depression kicks in, where I said earlier, like, I
Yes.
rather just hide under the covers. Like, I'm feeling
Mhm.
so exhausted constantly. And there's days where I personally feel like I'm like, am I sick? Am I getting sick because I'm so
Mhm.
tired? Like, I felt that this weekend.
Yes.
I'm just like, if I took a nap with the kids, I like passed out in the bed and I'm like, like, I'm sick? Like, I was so tired. Like, I almost needed the rest, you know? And then
Yes.
it's been, well, it doesn't help that our weather here is so crappy. It's wet and it's rain and rain, you
Yeah.
know, like the sunshine needs to shine in our world. But that's kind of like those highs and lows are pretty much a lot of times for motherhood and women in general because we go,
Mhm.
go, 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 go. We're busy, busy, busy. And then all of a sudden we don't have anything to do or we feel like we're coming back down that roller coaster. So then that,
Yes.
again, like that depression kicks in. Is that kind of what you see as
Mhm.
well when it comes to women? Is this up and down aspect?
Yes, yes, that's a perfect way to put it. Yeah, because it's just go, 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 and then nothing, and then it's like these highs and lows and those dips can really be just attributed to either messed up cortisol or messed up nervous system or a little bit of both. So yeah, that is super common to see, and that's where I'm like, "Okay, like, let's work on this." Like, I think this is, like, the start of what the symptoms are because dysregulated nervous system really affects all of our hormones. So that's why I'm like, it gives me a place to start when working with someone. It's like, "Okay, let's hone in."
Yeah, no, absolutely. So something like as I keep saying women and moms, but as for moms, like we have a lot on our plates. For me, if someone asks me to add something else to my plate, I'm to the point in my life where I say no, no, no. There's times
Mhm.
like I really want to go for a run, but I just don't even have time to even work out anymore. So when
Right.
I know that I'm out of whack, girl. I know that I am. I need to work with you more. But how can moms like start regulating without adding more to their plate? Because when, especially social media, and I talk about this a
Mhm.
lot, it's like social media, there's so many people to talk to, there's so many guides you can buy, there's so many things, but it gets
Right.
extremely overwhelming. So someone like you, I like,
Absolutely.
you have a medical background. You can really sit down and have that one-on-one conversation, which I find is really, really important. And so like what
Mhm.
is something we can just start doing on a day-to-day basis that we can really reel into our daily routine without feeling constantly even more overwhelmed than what we already are at?
Right,
Yeah.
no, I love that, and that's so many people women that I work with, it's like, that's it, and I even with myself, I'm like, "I don't wanna add anything, like a 30-minute something into my day, like, I don't have time for that." So what I like to tell people to do is to habit stack, so we're gonna take something you already do every day, and we're going to utilize that time. One thing that I love to do for people is I call it a therapy shower, and so you're already gonna shower during the day, like, let's take that time and make the most of it, and so what I do is I turn off my lights, and I either light a candle or have a little nightlight, like some sort of low light. I play music on my phone and then I do like a little spray, like a little aromatherapy spray. And it takes me like 30 seconds to like set up, no extra time. And then I just like let myself let loose. You just breathe, you listen to the music. Cause I used to just use showers as like going over my to do list and it would almost give me more anxiety. So whether you take it in the morning or at night, just give yourself that 10 minutes to just reset. Listen to the music, let the water be comforting. And I found that really helps people because we're not adding anything new. Um, Another thing that I've talked about with, some women is car rides, whether they're going to and from dropping their kids off to school or daycare, whatever it may be. When you have the alone time in the car, after you drop off, take that as some time to reset, like play a little podcast, play some music, and just, whatever's not distracting while driving, but like taking that time to just reset yourself. So kind of habit stacking where you can, and I know it's, so hard with mom schedules and it can change day to day, but really like utilizing the time you have. Like if you have a nighttime routine, taking the extra 5 minutes to make a cup of tea. I love doing that. I've started doing that. Fitting it in where you can to where it's not overwhelming is what I suggest.
No, that's awesome. I talk a lot about, I
Mhm.
mean, I'm that holistic gal and the farm mom. And for me, a lot of things is like stepping outside right now with it being
Yes.
yucky and mucky. I can't really go barefooted like I do, like my hippie style. I can't go barefooted.
Yes.
But my kids do. They were outside yesterday, no shoes, running like crazy in the rain and having a great old time in the mud. But grounding is something that is really helpful for me is like I know when I
Yes.
get on my high where I'm overstimulated and anxious, if I could just I have to say I have to walk away. Like I'll tell my husband, I'm like, I need a
Mhm.
minute. I need a minute. And it is just a minute.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned the shower, 10 minutes. Like that is what a lot of women just need a few minutes. We don't need a whole day. We don't,
Yes.
as people always say, oh, take a spa day or do this. I'm like, I really don't need that.
Uh-huh.
Would it be great? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, just taking a couple minutes out of my day to just breathe. Because
Yes.
breathing, and let's talk about breathing because deep breaths are not taken enough. My mom is a yoga instructor and she talks to
Yes.
me, you got to start breathing. You got to start breathing.
Mhm.
And as you guys listen to my podcast more and more, I feel like I don't even breathe sometimes. Like I know I'll catch myself talking and having a conversation and I don't even breathe sometimes. I'm in sales too. So for me being in sales, I have to talk as fast as I can to a doctor. So it's like I catch myself, like I
Mhm.
need to take a
Yes.
breath. So let's talk a little bit about breathing and what you really,
Love
suggest when it comes to breathing. And especially when moms are at their very highest high, or
that.
even when
Mhm.
they're at their very lowest low. Where are
Mhm.
these breaths and breath work important when it comes to the highs and lows?
Yes. I love that, yeah, I love breath work, I love it, yeah. I love doing, like, 4 counts in and then holding and then, like, 6 counts out, I find that really helpful, or doing, like, you hold one nostril, breathe in, and blow out the other nostril, that's really helpful, and I will just do it, like, throughout my day. Like, I'll take 2 deep breaths, it's like when I go to lunch, like, that's when I'm like, "Okay, like, clock out, I'm gonna I'm gonna do this." In the mornings, I do, like, a little short little yoga thing, I make sure to just sit there, breath work, it helps so much for regulating the nervous system because it stimulates that vagus nerve and it just tells your body to calm down. So yeah, breath work is so important. And I know it's kind of like people are like, oh, it's just breathing, but like it actually has so much like medical back behind it. It really does help.
Yeah, I used to have panic attacks like pretty bad. And that was one thing I
Mhm.
felt really helped is just like I would sit on the floor and do the deep breathing. Because
Mhm.
sometimes we as women, we get so overstimulated that it's like we don't think about the breath. So it's like, okay, we're
Yes.
panicking, we're anxious, and okay, we forget to take a breath. Like that's the easiest,
Yeah.
simplest thing that you can do every single day, when it
Yeah.
comes to that. But I want to jump into one of my favorite topics, and I see you talk about it a lot, and I'm very interested to learn more in the cycle syncing because
Yeah.
I think this is important because I don't do any of this. I'm going to be straight up honest. I saw you the other day doing, seeds and talking about your different seeds, and I'm really excited about this because these are easy things that we can do in our daily routine as women. And cycle syncing literally sounds amazing, but but also feel like I'm like it's unrealistic when you're raising kids,
Mhm.
especially when I see, people on social media, they're doing all these things, and it's like I get instantly
Mhm.
overwhelmed. So let's start from the very
Right.
beginning. What is cycle syncing in a very simple way for women out there that are learning about this?
Yes, yeah. So cycle syncing is really just syncing your lifestyle to your menstrual cycle. So throughout your menstrual cycle, you'll have highs and lows kind of when you're on your period, when you're ovulating, you feel highs and lows. And it's just syncing your lifestyle to how you're feeling. So like during your menstruation, your hormones are at the lowest, they take that dip. So that's when I prioritize like rest. I'm not going to do a really heavy workout. I'm going to do more so yoga. I'm going to have warming foods. And then as my hormones start to come up towards ovulation, that's like when I feel really good, I wanna get outside, I wanna, like, do a hard workout, eat, salads, smoothies. So it's kind of just syncing your lifestyle to how you're feeling, and it sounds like a lot kind of in theory, but really it's just listening to your body. If one day you're feeling like, "I need to take a break," it's just, like, honoring that, and then one day, like, "I just wanna get out, like, I'm gonna do stuff, I'm gonna talk to people," honoring that as well. So really just syncing your body to how you're feeling.
So, like, when give an example, like that 7-day window of a period. So, you start your
Mhm,
period on a Monday and you're going through that week. Kind of what would a routine look for somebody that is having a regular period every month?
mhm.
What does that cycle syncing kind of look like for somebody that is having regular periods?
I love that. So what I tell people to do, I really like to keep my movement low and slow. So I like to do yoga. I love yoga. I love prioritizing walks, like at least one walk a day if you can, getting out into the sun. And then like something like Pilates, like a low and slow movement. For eating, I like to do like warming foods, so comforting foods, especially in the morning just to help that digestion and like cortisol all that blood sugar regulation, so I like to do kind of warming meals, and then just taking it slow, so kind of like low stimuli. So I'm not making big plans during this time. I'm not trying to plan the rest of my month during this time. kind of am like, I did that throughout, other phases, so I'm just gonna really make it low and slow for this week. Still getting stuff done, still doing what you need to do, but, like, tweaking things to where it's like, I can just take it a little slower this week.
Okay, so I love that you said that because I always like during my period week, I feel so tired. I have no
Mhm.
motivation. I don't
Yep.
wanna do anything high intensity, and especially with kids, like, I'm just like,
Yes.
"Everyone leave me alone, I just wanna sleep." And I have been noticing that. My son is 2 now, and I don't really remember with my daughter because I was all my hormones were all over the place, but with him being 2
Mhm.
now, I feel like I'm finally regulating, like, my hormones are finally, like, kind of, like, settling in. And so, like, I'm getting regular, which is great. But the thing is, like I said, that week, I just feel like I don't wanna do anything. So when you say
Yes.
rest, I love that because that makes me feel better that I'm not like I feel like that's when I almost get in depressive state because I need it because
Mhm.
I'm a go-go person, and so when I don't go, I'm like, "What is wrong with me? Oh, it's my period."
Right.
Like, I'm in a hormone I'm in my cycle this week. And
Yes.
so, that makes me feel so much better. And so women out there, this is a
Mhm.
great sign that you can take it low and
Yes.
slow. When you talk about warming foods, what are some examples of foods that you do like to prepare for your body? Because the one thing is bloating, like we get a lot of bloated. I'm craving lots of
Yes.
sugars during that week. I want cookies, I
Right.
want chocolate, but I also want to stay on my health journey. So I want to make sure I'm taking
Right.
care of my body and making sure. So, what are some good nutrition foods? And when you say warming foods, can you give me some examples
Mhm.
on that?
Yeah, yeah, so anything what I like to do personally, I do, like, oatmeals, especially, like, breakfast oatmeals. I love sweet potatoes, so, like, I like a sweet potato in the morning or, like, chicken sausage, something that kind of just gets your digestion going. So thinking, like, opposite of, like, "Oh, I'm gonna make a smoothie," or, like, a yogurt bowl, kind of, like, moving towards something warm. I love, like, any variation of oatmeal. And then for sweetness, because I also crave the sweets, I love doing dates, and I put cashew butter, and I dip them in, dark chocolate, and I, like, store them in my freezer so that I always have them to go to, and dates will help with any, like, cramps that you're having, so those are also really good to have during your period. And I also prioritize teas, like, kind of going along the warming things. Raspberry leaf tea is great because 'cause it'll help with menstrual cramps as well, and having, like, a couple cups a day. So I just, like, try to have, like, warm foods throughout the day, kind of whatever you find comforting, but sticking to, kind of nutrition-dense foods, and then warm throughout the day, so, like, teas, and then love my dates at the end of the day.
I need to get better about dates. I've tried it and I just can't get through the flavor, but I know that like
Mhm.
as I add things to my health journey, like you eventually get used to things like I
Yes.
take a wood root shot every morning and, like, my family members are like, "This is disgusting," and I'm like, "I love it," like, it's no
Right.
problem for me because 'cause I'm used to shooting it, burns my throat a little bit, I know it's working. Now,
Right.
what is your thought on this week coffee? Like, you talk a lot about tea, which I would love to get
Mhm.
down the road of tea. Oh, I know I wanna do it, I'm gonna do it soon, but I love my coffee, I love my cup of joe in the morning, that's kind of my first go-to after I take all my
Yes.
supplements, I get my coffee. I'm really bad about eating before my coffee. But what is your thoughts? Because it is high caffeine during your
Mhm.
cycle. What is your thoughts, versus is it okay to have that coffee? Should we just be really focusing on tea that week versus that caffeine?
Right, that's a great question. No, that's great. I also love coffee. So what I say to do, and if you can, it's hard for a lot of people, like you mentioned, is to eat before the coffee. And it's hard for a lot of my clients even. And that's the one thing I do. I'm like, let's just try to eat breakfast before coffee. That'll help to stabilize your blood sugar. And so the caffeine isn't spiking your cortisol like crazy as well. So it'll just help you feel a little more well-rounded. And then what I like to do with my coffee, especially during this time, is I just have an unflavored collagen that I put in it just so that caffeine has a little bit of protein with it. So it's just not like hitting me so hard. So I still do coffee during this time, but I just make sure I tweak it to have it after breakfast and with a little bit of protein.
Yeah, that's perfect. I need to
Yeah.
do better. Like I have been trying to just do more proteins and carbs and things like that. And I
Mhm.
have definitely seen energy feeling so much better, getting away from those carbs and just really, focusing on that and doing lots of eggs and steaks
Yes.
and meats and things like that.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you, speaking of steaks,
Mhm.
what is your thought? People have this big, I keep seeing this around the internet, it's like kind of like that viral thing where everyone's like, you need to eat this giant steak during your cycle week. Like, tell
Right.
us about that. Let's chat about the
Let's chat.
energy on that because I am so lost. Why would I want to eat a big giant steak during my cycle week?
Right, that's a great question. So, yeah, I would say it's helpful. So, you're losing blood, you're losing iron during your period. So, replenishing it with a red meat will help kind of refill those stores and help to give you like the protein, the iron, refilling the nutrients. So, I think it's great. I don't think you have to have like a giant steak every period, especially if you're
Yeah.
not feeling it, but like I like steak. So, I'm like, yeah, like let's do it. But yeah, that's kind of the thought behind it is it just kind of replaces and helps replenish the nutrients that you're losing. But I love steak. So, yeah, any reason to eat steak.
Yeah, no, I love steak too. We do farm fresh Longhorn, and so it's
Oh,
all lean, it's clean.
mhm.
So do you recommend, especially like when we're eating, speaking of the nutrition side of things, is it good to eat red meat that whole week? What is your recommendation when it comes to red meat during your cycle for the entire week? Is it once a week? Is it a certain day of the cycle?
Right, that's a good question. I would say kind of listen to your body because red meat can make some people feel bloated. I know, like with some of my clients, it's just kind of more of a no. So, like
Mhm.
listening to your body, seeing how you're feeling, I would say you could do it at least 3 times a week. If you feel good doing it every single day, you can. But it's not something you're like, oh, if I don't do this, I'm going to miss out on these nutrients. Not necessarily. But pulsing it in when you want is definitely fine.
Yeah, and we talk about that a lot at Mama Uprooted. Like everyone is different, always listening to your body, making sure you're
Hmm.
logging things, how you're feeling. Like you had mentioned, Jordan, like take 3 months, like commit to 3 months of writing a journal blog of what you're eating, what your cycle's like, things like that. How's your sleep?
Yeah.
But one thing that I have noticed a lot in women, and this is as years go on, especially this kind of, from what we eat and how we're treating our body, the stress, our hormones are all over the place. This has caused a lot of women to have irregular or even non existent postpartum, even periods and cycles. So what do we do if our cycle is feeling irregular or non-existent with after for postpartum?
That's a great question. And what I say for someone who like doesn't have a period or if I'm dealing with a newly postpartum mom is it's going to be even more important to listen to your body and kind of track those rhythms because we don't have the period to go after really. So we're going to focus on how our body's feeling and go from there. And I find it is really helpful because then we're listening when our body wants to rest. And that to me is really important because that kind of will help to regulate the nervous system, help to regulate the hormones to hopefully get that period back. So yeah, and it's kind of like a daily journal. I know it's hard for some people, but seeing like how you're feeling every day over the course of a month and then looking at it going on to the next month and then being like, was there a pattern between this week and this week? 30 days apart, was there a pattern here? So yeah, really listening to your body and tracking it the best you can, just so that we can see those highs and lows.
Yeah, and I think for me, my cycle has always been crazy all over the books because,
Mhm.
I lived in the age where everyone was put on birth control. So we didn't have acne and we didn't have periods.
Yes.
So that it wasn't even, we didn't even go on birth control because of the whole sex part. It was
Right.
basically, we went on acne in my group and my age because of
Mhm.
that. We said we had acne. And then, like I said, we didn't want to have a period at all. So
Right.
there was years that I didn't have a period. So it was very
Mhm.
difficult for me to even get pregnant with my first because it took me so many years for my hormones to get regulated. And
Right.
I didn't, my doctor really never even said anything. Like they didn't tell me anything about this cycle
Yes.
syncing, journaling, things like that. And
Mhm.
so there's so many things I think a whole nother podcast we could talk about on this, but it's
Right.
wild that providers will be able to put you on a pill where you don't have to have a
Mhm.
period at all. I just took it every single day. I never had a period, years and years. My friends were the same
Right.
way. They were like, this is amazing. In reality, we were killing our bodies like
Yes.
inside, like not
Yeah.
good. Have you talked to women about that at all? Like women that have been on birth control where they didn't have periods at all and now having babies and all that?
Yes, yeah, it was like an epidemic, like, doctors just were like, "Oh, you get it, and you get it, and you get it," like, it's crazy, so, yeah, working with those women, I'm like, "Alright, and it just goes back to, like, tracking how your body feels, like, let's stop the birth control if that's where she's at in her life, and then, like, let's just go from there, let's track highs and lows," and it does take a long time for the body to reset because it's just been so used to being on those, like, suppressing hormones, you're not really having a period. if you do have any during birth control, it's just a withdrawal bleed. So it takes the body a lot of time to like re-regulate. And just yeah, listening to those rhythms and patterns because yeah, it's crazy that it's just like, yep, everyone's on birth control, like wild, wild to me.
Yeah, and I now being a holistic mama here, I will never put my daughter on birth control unless it's an
Right.
absolute need, if there was some issues going on.
Mhm.
Medication is for a reason, not just to put you on a medication, just to put you on a medication kind of aspect. Like, we need to make sure we're
Yes.
taking care of our bodies and supporting our bodies. There's other options out there. Um,
Mhm.
but, going into our health journey, I think
Yeah.
this is one that you and I are really passionate about, is going into that thyroid side of things. So I know we both have personal experience when it comes here, and I think a lot of moms silently do struggle with this is hormones. So I really want to share my story, and then I want you to share your story,
Yes.
because my first baby, I was totally mental. She was extremely colicky. I went through that roller coaster ride of hormones to the point where I was exhausted. And I talk about this a lot, but it was to the point where finally one day after she turned 1, I said, "I'm just not feeling right." And I told my doctor, I said, I'm depressed, I'm sad, I have no energy. What do I do?" And again, no pokes against my providers, but she was just like, "You're fine." Like, "What do you mean? You want to talk to a therapist?" And I was like, "No." I'm foggy. Like, my eyes are foggy. Like, I can't see straight. Like, I'm really sad. I can't wake up, or I'm not waking up. Like, something is not right. And
Mhm.
I ultimately forced my provider to do blood work. And she's like, "Well, what do you want to check?" And I said, "Well, I want to check my thyroid." Like, I kept doing my own research. I'm trying to like figure out what's going on with
That.
me, what can be wrong
Mhm.
with me. And she's like, "Okay, I don't think it's that, but we'll do it." And I'm
Mhm.
like, "Okay." So normally everybody knows you're at a hospital system. It takes forever to get your blood work back, like days sometimes.
Yeah.
I got my blood work drawn that day, and I'm not kidding. Within a few hours, my provider is on the phone
Wow.
talking to me, and she's like, "Girl, you know your body." She's like, "Your thyroid is through the roof." And I'm like,
Yep.
"Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I'm glad we have answers." And she's like, "We need to put you on medication."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Oh, like I'm you guys, I am very this is just me and my body. I listen to my body. My body doesn't do well with medications at all. Like, I can't even take Vicodin or high like I could never be a drug addict,
Mhm.
which is a good thing kind of situation. Like, I can't. I rarely even take Tylenol. I don't
Mhm.
do well with medications. My body's so sensitive." So she's like,
Mhm.
"Okay, we're gonna put you on a very low dose. But this is like an emergency high. Like, you need to get on medication."
Mhm.
So I had promised myself, I'm like, "You know what? I'm gonna get off of this." And so I think this is what took me down my journey of healing my body from the inside out originally, is I'm going to get off these medications, and I'm gonna heal my body naturally and holistically. So that's how I started my holistic journey, is because my thyroid was
Oh.
off. And long story short, like, talking through this and just, is I got off the medications. My mother-in-law was like, "Once you're on thyroid medication, you're never gonna get off." And I said, "Watch me." I had several people tell me that I will not get off this medication for the rest of my life, and I said, "Watch me." So ultimately, again, everybody's different. Your levels are different depending on where you're at. So my journey is not going to heal your journey kind of aspect, but working on my diet, my exercise, really focusing on getting my levels checked more regularly, focusing on myself. Ultimately, I got off of them, and I've been off of them for 3.5 years. So yeah, I did it. I'm off of thyroid
Oh, you
medication.
did
There's
it.
a
It's
possibility.
amazing.
I mean, for me, I think I went down the olive tree. I drink a lot of olive tree elixir. I drink the hydroxytyrosol every single day. That has really helped regulate my hormones, my thyroid, my nervous system, everything. And I always swear by that. But again, everybody's body's different. So that's why we have Jordan here. But what led you into your thyroid healing journey? Because I want to hear your story and share with theirs. Because if you guys, while you're listening to this podcast, if you have a thyroid journey, please email us. Let us know. We want to hear these journeys that you're having, because these stories are what are going to help other women through their own other journeys as well. So,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, mine is so similar to yours. And it's also so frustrating when you're like, I was begging my doctor for thyroid labs. I deal with so many clients that that's their story too. I don't know why it's so hard. So I end up ordering them. But yeah, my thyroid journey is super similar. I was in my early 20s and I was in college and I just started feeling so off. I had panic attacks. I was so anxious. My heart rate was through the roof, and I started doing my own research. And I was like, I think it's hyperthyroidism. So I went to my doctor and I was like, hey, I need these labs. Luckily, she was like, okay, that makes sense, and ordered them right away. And was like, oh, yep, you have hyperthyroidism. And sent me to an endocrinologist. So I saw the endocrinologist and she was like, okay, we're going to put you on meds for a couple months and then we'll just take your thyroid out and you'll be fine. And I was like, I don't want to lose my thyroid. Like, I'm 20. And so I did some more research on anything holistic. And my brother, who was a nurse at the time, is now a nurse practitioner. He was reading a couple articles and was like, I found one that shows 50% of autoimmune graves, hyperthyroidism can go into remission with lifestyle changes. And I was like, okay, like, let me try that out. Let me work with my lifestyle. And lo and behold, I, went into remission. I didn't have to be on any meds. And I'm still that way. And so, yeah, just working, like you said, with food, exercise, stress regulation, that's what really set me off. And my autoimmunity was the stress portion of it. Would just send it through the roof. So really regulating that. But yeah, so just able to be off medications, working with lifestyle. And yeah, it was crazy when I was 20 and they were like, yeah, let's take your thyroid. I'm so happy then I knew to say no. And people don't know they can like say no, and try to at least advocate for themselves. So crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's where a lot of patients, a lot of women, they just feel like, this is what my medical professional said, and this is what I have to do.
Mhm.
I hear that
Mhm.
so often, and that drives me crazy. And I'm like, no, you don't
Yeah,
have to do anything. This is your body. Do the
exactly.
research. Like, there are other options. Any health journey. There's so many health journeys out there
Mhm.
that, yes, we are a new society. There's so much
Yes.
science out there now that you do have other options. So if you ever
Mhm.
listen to your gut. And then, as moms, like, listen to your gut, as women, as,
Yes.
professionals, like, please, if you feel like something's off with your body and then someone's not giving you what you want or whatever, like, it's
Mhm.
okay to give your doctor pushback. Like, challenge your providers. This is why we have
Yes.
better science. This is why we have better options, because people like Jordan and I challenge our providers and say, wait a
Yes.
minute, no, we're going to look at other options before you do this. And there's time.
Mhm.
Jordan wasn't dying. I wasn't dying. Like, we need to try other options. I wasn't like on my deathbed that day where they need to open me up and have a major surgery, right? But taking your thyroid out is huge. I
Yeah.
have seen more and more providers starting to do this less and less. But can you
Mhm.
guys, like, that was the thing. That has been the thing. Like, just take it
Yeah.
out. Take it out. You take out your gallbladder, take out this, take
Mhm.
like all your body parts. And I'm just like, but your thyroid is a key component. And Jordan, really
Right.
tell us the importance of our thyroid and why you chose to keep your thyroid,
Yeah, the thyroid
especially at
is
20 years old.
right, yeah, especially so young. The thyroid is so important, and it's so important in regulating hormones. It literally affects every system in the body, and that's why when you have an off thyroid, you kind of feel it everywhere because it affects your heart, it affects your anxiety, it affects your mental, it affects everything. And so it is so important to keep, in my opinion, if you can. Of course, there's cases where things have to happen or you can be on medication. But to me, it's just so important to have that thyroid because it regulates so many things. And that's why feeling hyper, you'll feel super high, or feeling hypo, you'll feel super low. So if you have any of those symptoms, could be an indicator something's off. But yeah, it regulates so many things.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, there's options out there, especially, like, I mean, even just like, again, I'm the holistic mama here, but it's like really looking at the teas and what you're eating and how you're fueling your
Mhm.
body and the supplements and things like that. And after me just really going down that journey, I was able to get off all the medications, and I have yet have had an issue. Granted, I do have that dysregulated nervous system and cortisol now, but that is just the role of being a mom. I feel like everybody is deals with
Yeah.
that. And so that's why we have Jordan. But the thyroid is something really important to think about. If your body, you feeling off, but you're still pushing through, just know
Mhm.
you have a community of support out there. And you thinking a lot of times, people will say, and that's kind of what happened to me is people are like, you're just exhausted, you're just tired. And
Mhm.
that's my doctor was telling me, you have a new baby, she's like, you're just exhausted. You're just tired. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. But there's something something's not right. It's beyond
Right.
exhaustion. So
Yep.
really listening to your body, realizing your body needs support is so important and asking for help. We ask for help in our mama rooted uprooted community. Please always ask for help. But
Yes.
if you are a mom that is listening right now and you're overwhelmed because I am every day. Where should she start, Jordan? Like where should she start? We're overwhelmed. We're talking about the thyroid, we're talking about the nervous system. Where should we start? What are the top 3 foundational things that every mom should really focus on?
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. I take it back to basics. So, my 3 pillars of hormone health are nutrition, movement, lifestyle, and then stress regulation. So, I kind of take it back, to the basics as far as possible and say, how could we be eating better? What nutrients can we add to our diet? How can we move our body to really support it? And also the lifestyle aspect of that. Like, are we sleeping okay? How can we support our sleep? And then the stress regulations. How can we better support our stress? And so it sounds like a lot at first, but when I'm starting with someone, I kind of say, like, let's take one of each pillar and see if we can do that for a month, just making small tweaks. What can we add to our diet? Can we sleep? Maybe adding a supplement if needed to sleep, or maybe just making sure we're getting regular sleep and regulating that nervous system. So it sounds like a lot, but I try to break it down to like, let's start with 3 things and do that for a month and go from there.
Yeah, and I think that's important as always the baby steps. I feel like that's why our world right now, moms feel so overwhelmed because people are really driving like try all of these things instead of
Mhm.
taking the baby steps. That's exactly how when I work with my skincare mamas, I'm always like, you don't need 10 things, you need 2 things, like start slow. If this works, then we can move from here. And
Mhm.
again, just like I'm big into always telling my mamas like the journaling, write it down. Like if you're feeling terrible or you're
Yes.
feeling this or you're feeling that, even when we're adding new supplements into our life, making sure you write it down because there's a lot of times too where I find that mamas start a new supplement, like you said, and they're like, I didn't feel anything. I didn't notice a difference. Well,
Mhm.
when you take before and after pictures, when you write things down, that's when you can see, oh my gosh, you know what? This is helping. And
Mhm.
so I think it's really important because a lot of times our brains we're just going, going, going. And even though I might be taking this new supplement or doing this new journey, I'm like, Jordan, I didn't feel any better. But
Yeah.
really you did. There was a huge change
Right.
because you can look back in your journals. And I always call it like the mom brain. We talk about mom brain all the time that you forget. Like, you know what? Actually, I did really feel good this day or that day or whatever.
Mhm.
So, really important when we're talking about food, your movement, your stress, your sleep support. You don't need a full life overhaul, just consistent
Right.
small shifts. I mean, I
Yes.
think consistency is also a thing. I think one thing for me too is we talk about mindset shift. I go through a lot of mindset shift things and education for myself, but we talk
Mhm.
about anybody can do anything in 30 days. So if you can just do something
Yes.
every single day for 30 days, your brain gets rewired and you're going to continue to keep doing
Yes.
that. So in the morning, I do my shots of my supplement shots. I like a liquid shot. So I'm taking my
Yeah.
wood root, taking my olive oil, I'm taking my collagen, my IO1, my olive tree elixir. And if I don't take it in the morning, I'm like, I kind of like get like, oh, wait, I think I forgot because my brain is so wired to do that. When I first wake up, I go to the counter, I take my shots, I take my supplements, and then I make my,
Mhm.
protein coffee. So, um, do you have a routine that you like to do in the mornings or your health supplement? Tell me a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, yeah, I do love my morning routines, and it kinda, like, changes throughout the seasons, I notice, but what I like to make sure I get in the mornings, I wake up, I make my tea, so I'll have tea and I'll do a little yoga, little routine, when that takes, like, 10 minutes, I try to make it snappy, and then I like to do breakfast, getting something in, and then I'll make my coffee, and then I like to do a walk, especially, like, it's getting brighter out early, so I like to, like, take my dogs for a little walk if I can, and I find that, like, it sounds like a lot of things, but it can be done pretty simply, and it just, like, makes me feel so much better. So, yeah, like, getting that movement in, getting the food in, getting that sunlight in, those are 3 things that I really prioritize every morning, and it just helps to regulate me, and, like, finding something that works for you, if you're like, "I don't wanna do any workouts in the morning," you don't have to, maybe just, like, going outside. But, yeah, morning routines, I love them. Love.
Yeah, sunshine is a big one, and all these are free, you guys. Like, this is something that I feel like really helps moms not feel overwhelmed where you're not buying thousands of dollars of things is
Yes.
sunlight is free. Like, we have curtains in our house, so I try to open them up as soon as possible, even if it's
Mhm.
rainy. Like, the natural light is my biggest thing. When the curtains are shut and it's gloomy, I'm super sad. So I just open those babies right up. I'm like, let's go. Let's start the day, get going.
Mhm.
But, feeling we really wanna feel good from the inside out, and if you're not feeling good from the inside out, something is wrong, you know? And I always tell from me being a skincare consultant and holistic girl over here is your skin is going to show that, you know? You're going to have different hormonal changes too with acne, rosacea, having anything on the outside. So, if you're not
Mhm.
feeling good, it always starts from the inside. So, really getting support from Jordan is really gonna help you is if you're seeing more
Mhm.
skin rashes, you're seeing more, acne, hormones, things like that, this is the time to reach out to Jordan to get some help. But what,
Mhm.
as a woman in general, I think that's very difficult because what does feeling good actually look like for a mom? It's like when feeling good, we're always going, 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 right? We talked about that, but it's like
Mhm.
every day's different, but we're also on these roller coasters. Is there a point,
Right.
Jordan, that I'm going to get to my life where I feel happiness every single day and I have energy every single day? What does that look like for someone? When you go down
Right.
a journey with a woman, when you're having a one-on-one coaching, is there a
Mhm.
possibility to feel good every single day, and what does that look like?
Right, that's a great question. I would say, it's different for everyone and everyone has highs and lows, but yes, you can get back to that point where like you feel happy. Maybe not like all the time, every single
Right,
hour of
we're
the
all
day
human.
happy.
Yeah.
Right. Like you feel happy every day. You feel like excited to wake up or like you don't dread the days. You can absolutely get back to that. And what I like to say is like you'll get back to feeling like yourself again. And I feel like that's a lot of people's like am I feeling good? Am I feeling happy? It's like, well I feel like myself again and like that's just like the biggest step to feeling better. So yeah, I would say like you can get back to that point. Like it is accessible and it just takes steps and it'll take time and that's okay. But getting back to feeling happy yourself is possible.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, why I started Mama Uprooted is because after having kids, I have a 2 and 4-year-old. I'm constantly exhausted. I'm constantly on a roller coaster ride. And there was like this new study that came out that was like talking about women with kids under the age of 6 and how they're feeling. They're not feeling good. We're exhausted. The depression is higher,
Mhm.
things like that. So it's like when I started Mama Uprooted, I want to build a community of women. Like, you're not alone. Let's all get through this together. We're all growing differently, but we're in
Yes.
this together, kind of aspect. And
Mhm.
it's the same thing with our hormones. Like, if you're not feeling good, like, that's not because you're exhausted. Yes, maybe you need your mom to come over and watch the kids for a night or something. You need a break. That's real life, right?
Mhm.
But don't be afraid to ask for help. Reach out to Jordan to be like, okay, let's just do a deep dive on this is how I'm feeling. Is this normal? Is this not normal?
Mhm.
Don't be afraid to give your providers pushback, like, "This is how I'm
Yes.
feeling." I think even as a young gal, like, I had a hard time expressing myself to my provider, like, I think that someone
Yeah.
like you, it's easier to have that conversation with, like,
Mhm.
because you really understand it, you've been through it, you
Yeah.
work with these women one-on-one, you see these scenarios, and this is what your focus is. And so
Right.
that's why I love have someone like you because we can have the
Yeah.
ability to have one-on-one coaching and
Mhm.
you're not being pushed through an office as fast as possible
Right.
because they only have 10 minutes to see you.
Yes, exactly,
And there,
exactly.
right? Like, even in the
Right?
ER, it's like, "Okay, let's get
Oh,
him
yeah.
out here. We got the
Oh,
next ER coming through," right? So it's very fast paced. So
yes.
helping calming your nervous system and things like that. We're going to go into kind of
Mhm.
our closing message here, ladies, but you're not too far gone. And that's really the message I want to tell you guys today and why I brought Jordan on is listen
Mhm.
to your body. Your body wants to heal. It wants to heal. So
Mhm.
it's showing you these signs for a reason. And small changes matter. Again, you don't need, I told my mom, actually, it's a funny story. I told my mom the other day, I said, I want to just go out of the country. Like, there was this girl doing like a Bali trip, and
Oh,
like she's like saying like
yes.
she was going to Bali and like becoming fully healed and then coming back and felt like a new person. And my mom's like, "Yeah, that's, not really reality. Like, you gotta really just deal with it, right? You may
Yep.
feel good while you're there, but then you come back to reality,
Right,
and so now how do you deal with reality?"
yes.
I would love to go on a healing journey, but would it really work? I mean, maybe. We'll see, but, it would be fun to experience that.
Right.
you don't need to become a different mom to feel better. So a lot of times people I
Mhm.
think are talking about I'm trying to find myself. I need to become somebody different. Yourself is already there. You
Yes.
already know who you are. You've been the same person since you
Mhm.
were born. This is the DNA God gave you, your genetics, things like that. But it's trying to
Yes.
find yourself again. So you
Yes.
don't need to become a different mom. You just need to find yourself. And that's something that Jordan is really supporting and helping you on this one on one journey. And you just need to
Mhm.
start supporting the one you already are. So you need to support where you're at, where you're in your journey. And that's kind of like we talk about writing in our journals, writing for 3 months, figuring out what's going on. But you got this,
Mhm.
mama. Keep going and do you. We are going to make sure we put everything in the notes for Jordan where you can find her, you can follow her along
Mhm.
Instagram, get a consultation if you needed. And we do have a couple journal prompts that I always end with at the very end. It's good. I would love for you guys to do this. And just make sure in the Instagram with all of the reels this week, you are going to comment the word. You'll get a free mini root guide. Again, it will have all of Jordan's information as well. And it will have all these journal prompts. So just make sure you comment the word of the week. But journal prompts, where do I feel most off in my body right now? This is really good. Just sitting down with yourself, breathing, like we talked about the breath work today. Where do I feel most off in my body right now? Sitting with yourself and doing your breath work. Action step, choose one habit to focus on this week. Just one habit. Is it, like you said, Jordan, drinking your tea, grabbing your raspberry leaf tea, doing a yoga session for 10 minutes? She had great options there for you guys. Is it just going outside? You don't have to do a full workout. Jordan said, you don't have to get up
Mhm.
and go for a long run. Just put your feet on the ground, go outside. Again, deep breaths as you're doing that. And a quick affirmation this week: my body is not working against me, it's asking for support. We'll see you guys next week and have a great week. We are all growing differently. We're just doing this together. Bye.